Okay, so we'll start with where we have stopped in the last class. So now we start with the distributed system. Distribute the computation among several physical processors. Loosely coupled system. Each processor has its own local memory. Processor communicate with one another through various communication lines, such as speed, buses, or telephone lines. So that's what here distributed system means what. So you cannot keep everything in one place. Then that is what is called as a centralized. In case if that one system where you have kept all the data got corrupted, so then whole your data will be get lost. So to avoid that thing, we have a thing called as a distributed system. In distributed system, what we do, we keep data from 3 or 4 places, so that if one system is not working or got corrupted, so you still have 2 more system where you have your data and you can communicate. So that's what this distributed system is. So again, in distributed system, we have so many other advantages as well as disadvantages. So what is distributed system? Distribute the computation among several physical processors. Same way, I want the work to be done very fast. So let us take an example of our project. So in one IT company, you have you are a project manager and you have been assigned one project. And what the client has told, if you see the project, you will assume that you may require 1 month, 1 year to complete the project. But your client told they want it within a 6 months. So then what, as a project manager, you have to do? You have to hire so many extra people so that your work should be done within 5 months. So to do this, what you are doing, you are distributing the work. Same way here, even in the distributed system, there will be a computation or calculations, whatever is there, that will be distributed among different physical processors. So that's what is called as a distributed system. Loosely coupled system, each processor has its own local memory. So what we are doing, loosely coupled system, each processor has its own local memory. Processor communicate with one another through various communication lines, such as high-speed buses or telephone lines. Advantages of distributed system: resource sharing, computation speed up, loading, load sharing, reliability, communication. So this is what is called as a distributed system. So distribute the computation among several physical processor, loosely coupled system. Each processor has its own local memory. Processor communicate with one another through various communication lines, such as high-speed buses or telephone lines. Advantages of distributed system: resource sharing, computational speed up, load sharing, reliability, and communication. So that's what distributed system is. So then again, the distributed system can be with respect to a network operating system. Same way, if suppose let us assume that you have a operating system or you have a network where you are using cables to communicate, network cables. So now suppose let us assume that we are using the online classes. When you want to use online classes or attend online classes, then what you people are doing, you are connecting. So you're connecting through a net. So then that case we want a network. So then every time we cannot say that network problem, because if one, suppose if I say that Airtel, if we take an example, if Airtel is not working, then you should switch on to the Geo network, or you can switch on to the some other network. So that's how we do. So the same way here, even in a distributed system, we have something called as a network operating system. Provides file sharing, provides communication scheme, runs independently from other computers on the network. Distributed operating system, less autonomy between computers, gives the impression there is a single operating system controlling the network. So now if you see that there is one person like a principal where he is monitoring or controlling complete college. Same way here also, distributed operating system. So less autonomy between computers. So if you don't have a communication between one system to another system, gives the impression there is a single operating system controlling the network. Then what is a cluster system? Clustering allows two or more systems to share the storage. So what do you mean by clustering? Now take an example, you're doing a mini project. So in the second semester when you're doing a mini project, what did we say? So two people can do a one project. So that's what here clustering also will be doing. So two or more system can share their storage, can store their processor. So then we make that as one cluster. So that's what is called as a clustering system. So provides high reliability, asymmetric clustering. One server runs the application while other servers stand by. Symmetric clustering, all n hosts are running the application. So that's what here clustered system is. So handheld system, personal digital assistants, PDAs, cellular phones, cellular telephones, issues limited memory, slow processor, small display screens. So that's what is a handheld system. So in a handheld system, when we are using, you can see handheld system is your mobile. One best example is your cellular phone or a mobile. So then again in that we have a disadvantage. What is a disadvantage? So if I start comparing laptop with your mobile, so then we can say the limited. So in your mobile you have a less memory compared to your laptops. Along with that, the processor compared to your laptop, your mobile processors will be still slow. So that's what slow processor. And the display screen, the monitor is also very small. So that's what a small display screen with respect to a handheld systems. Next, moving on to a computing environments. Traditional computing, web-based computing, embedded system. So then what is traditional computing? Earlier you were knowing, so if we start from the days when some very 100 years, more years when the human being started. So initially we were not having something like paper, pen, anything. So if they want to count, what they were doing, they were using stones to count them. Later, they've started writing in the leaves. Then later they have improved. Now we have papers, but still the papers are coming from the trees. We know that. So that's the same way here in traditional computing. So you can see if we just say about a computer, those days, maybe 50 years down the line. So how we were not having a small mobiles or what we have right now, smartphones or laptops, what we have right now. Yeah, in those days, it was taking one big room to do the calculation. So that's what traditional computing was. And traditional computing was also only within the system. Whatever you want to calculate, you have to calculate. Then you have to take printout or take a CD or we were having the floppy disk. That was there in a traditional computing. But to avoid all this, so now those days we were having a postal system. So instead of postal system, we have a right now what we are doing, we are sending everything through a mail. So in that case, we are using a web-based computing. So what is this web-based computing? So we are using the internet to use it web-based computing. Then embedded computing. So combining all this, that's what is called as a embedded computing. So then operating system structure, system components, operating system services, system calls, system programs, system structure, virtual machine, system design and implementation, system generation. So this is what is called as a operating system structure. Common system components, process management, main memory management, file management, input output system management, secondary management, networking, protection system, command interpreter system. So these are all called as a common system components. So we see one by one. One is a process management. So what do we mean by process management? A process is a program in execution. A process needs certain resources including CPU time, memory files, and input-output device to accomplish its task. The operating system is responsible for the following activities in connection with process management. So process creation and deletion. So how do we start creating a process and how do we delete a process? Then process suspension and reassumption. Process suspension, how do we suspend how do we make the process to wait for some time. So if we are seeing in the last second chapter, CPU scheduling. So in that also we have algorithm first come first serve. Whoever comes first, that will be there. Whereas in time scheduling thing, what we do, we give some time. So if time is over, you have to leave the thing. Then what, that processes will be in a suspended state till it gets its time. So that's what is called as a process suspension and reassumption. Provision of mechanisms for process synchronization, process communication. So then main memory management. Memory is a large array of words or bytes, each with its own address. It is a repository of quickly accessible data shared by the CPU and input-output device. Main memory is a volatile storage device. It loses its content in the case of system failure. The operating system is responsible for the following activities in connection with memory management. Keeping track of which part of memory are currently being used and by whom, decide which processes to load when memory space becomes available. Allocate and deallocate memory space as needed. So that's what here sometimes you can see your processors, how we do it. Main memory management. Memory is a large array of words or bytes, each with its own address. It is a repository of quickly accessible data shared by the CPU and input-output device. Main memory is a volatile storage device. It loses its content in the case of system failure. The operating system is responsible for the following activities in connection with memory management. Keep track of which part of memory are currently being used and by whom. So decide which process to load when memory space becomes available. Allocate and deallocate memory space as needed. Next, we move on to a file management. A file is a collection of related information defined by its creator. Commonly, files represent programs and data. The operating system is responsible for the following activities in connection with file management. File creation and deletion, directory creation and deletion, support of primitives for manipulating files and directories, mapping files into storage, secondary storage, file backup on stable storage medium. So this is what is a file management. Then input output system management. The input output system consists of a buffer chasing system, a general device driver interface, drivers for specific hardware device. Secondary storage management, since main memory or primary storage is volatile and too small to accommodate all data and programs permanently, the computer system must provide secondary storage to back up main memory. Most modern computer system uses disks as the principal online storage medium for both programs and data. The operating system is responsible for the following activities in connection with disk management: free space management, storage allocation, disk scheduling. Next one, networking. So distributed system. A distributed system is a collection processor that do not share memory or a clock. Each processor has its own local memory. The processor in the system are connected through a communication network. Communication takes place using a protocol. So distributed system provides user access to various system resources. Access to a shared resource allows computation speed up, increased data availability, enhanced reliability. Protection system. Protection refers to a mechanism for controlling access by programs, processes, or users to both system and user resources. The protection mechanism must distinguish between unauthorized or authorized usage, specify the control to the imposed, provide a mechanism of enforcement. So what is this protection system? So now you can see any colleges, maybe any college, at least take our college. So in BMSIT college, unauthorized person, at least because of coronavirus, they are not allowing to enter into the college until unless you have a mask, until unless you have been tested with saying that your temperature is normal. So what you are doing, this protection is increased. Same way, even in the operating system, the protection is also required, not only for programs, not only for processor, not only for the user, for everything, the protection is required. So that's what is a protection system. Protection refers to a mechanism for controlling access by programs, processes, or users to both system and user resources. The protection mechanism must distinguish between authorized and unauthorized usage, specify the control to be imposed, provide a means of enforcement. So this is what is called as a protection system. So next is command interpreter system. So what is command interpreter system? Many commands are given to the operating system by control statements which deal with process creation and management, input output handling, secondary storage management, main memory management, file system access, protection, networking. So that's what is called as a command interpreter system. So command interpreter system. So initially we were having something called as operating system was disk operating system. So what was there in the disk operating system? Everything it was in the form of commands. Everything you have to remember. To create a folder, you have to remember a command. To change from one directory to another directory, you have to remember a command. And to do so many operations or to create anything, it was done with the commands. And human being cannot remember huge number of commands. So then that's the thing. The command interpreter have moved on to a drag and drop. That's what in our Windows. After this disk operating system, so the Windows, what we have done, just drag and drop automatically behind. It will create a word, a file. It will create a folder. So most of the things. So the same way here, after that modification, we have something called Unix. So the program that reads and interprets control statements is called variously command line interpreter shell in Unix. Its function is to get and execute the next command statement. So that's what is a command line interpreter and the shell. So command line interpreter, it was a disk operating system. What we are calling it as a command line interpreter. Then a shell is with the Unix. Operating system services, program execution, system capability to load a program into memory and to run it. Input output operation, since user programs cannot execute input output operations directly, the operating system must provide some means to perform input output operation. File system manipulation, program capability to read, write, create and delete files. Then communication, exchange of information between processes executing either on the same computer or on different systems tied together via network. Implemented via shared memory or message passing. Error detection, ensure correct computing by detecting errors in the CPU and memory hardware in input output device or in a user program. So that these are the services given by the operating system. What is the first service given by the operating system? Program execution. So what is a program execution? System capability to load a program into memory and to run it. So then input output operation, since user programs cannot execute input output operations directly, the operating system must provide some means to perform input output things. File system manipulation, program capability to read, write, create and delete the files. File system manipulation. Communication, exchange of information between processes executing either on the same computer or on a different systems tied together via network. Implemented via shared memory or message passing. The error detection ensure correct computing by detecting errors in the CPU and memory hardware in input output device or in the user program. These are the operating system services. So additional operating system services for the operating system, what are the additional things has been done by the operating system are additional functions exist not only for helping the user but rather for ensuring efficient system operations. Resource allocation, allocating resources to multiple users or multiple jobs running at the same time. Accounting, keeping track of and records which users use, how much and what kind of computer resources for account billing or for accumulating usage statistics. Protection, ensuring that all access to system resources is controlled. So that's what is a additional operating system. What are the system calls we have? So system calls, the system call provides the interface between a running program and the operating system. Generally available as a assembly language instruction. Language is defined to replace assembly language for systems. Programming allow system calls to be made directly. That is what C and C++. Three general methods are used to pass parameters between the running program and the operating system. Then passing parameters in register, store the parameters in a table in memory, and table address is passed as a parameter in register. Push a parameter on the stack by the program and pop off the stack by the operating system. So these are the system calls given by the operating system. We can see in this diagram how the register and how the user programs and how the operating system all together are passing parameters with using a table. So you can see DOS execution, MS-DOS. MS stands for Microsoft Disk Operating System. Now, how do this execution takes place with the DOS? So free memory, command interpreter, kernel. So then free memory, processors, command interpreter and a kernel. So that's what is a DOS execution. Then what are the types of system calls? Process control, file management, device management, information maintenance and communication. So this is what is called as a types of system calls. Process control, file management, device management, information maintenance, communication. So this is what is called as a types of system calls. What are the categories we have? Process control, file management, device management, information maintenance and communication. So then system calls, it end and abort. So suppose you think that I have done with my work, then I can end or close the thing. That's what is a abort. So load or execute. So how to load and how to execute my program. So that's what is called as a process control. So then create a process and terminate the process. So how do we create and how do we terminate the process? So we start, if I want to start anything, so you open the PPT new one, then you start editing into that. Same way here, how do we create? We have a system call for creating a process. Same way, I have completed my work. Then what we do, at least to close the PPT, we have a symbol, into mark symbol to say that you can close this particular PPT. Same way with the operating system also, when we want to end the operating system, we are using a terminate system call to terminate the process. So the same way, get process attributes. So sometimes I want to access the process attributes. I want to get a value from the process. I want the what are the attributes present with the process. Process may be having the number, process ID number. It may be having which location it is. So like this, we may have a properties for that. I can get the properties from the operating system, or sometimes I may say that I will set the properties. So that's what is a set process attributes. Then wait for a time. So or you wait for your time to come back. So now in the same way, we have a timetable where, so 1 hour is given to the operating system, 1 hour is given for the DS, 1 hour for DMS, 1 hour for CN, 1 hour for Java. So what we have done, we have given a time. So the same way here, even in the operating system also, we have given with the time. Then wait event and a signal event. So wait event, you wait for some time. So that's what you can see. So at 11:55 won't complete. So other staff has to wait for some time. So the same way here, waiting time. Then signal event. So you are passing a signal event. So then allocate and free memory. So I can allocate and I can free the memory. So then create file, delete file, open and close. I can create a file. If I have completed file management, I can create one new file, or I can create, if I have done with, I don't want any more that file, then I can delete the file also. So in the same way, I want to open a file. So suppose you think that I want to open a new PPT to start with a new chapter. So then what I do, I just say new. So in the same way, even in the file management, we have a system called as a open to open the file. And if I've done with my work, then I use a close system call to close the system. Read, write, and reposition. So what is read? Reading a value from the data, or writing the values from the data, or reposition. So position from one position to another position, that's what is a read, write, and the reposition. Then get file attributes, set file attributes. So get a file attribute, that's what I told. What is a file size, what is the name of the file, what is stored, whether it is a text file, whether it is an image file, whether it is a video file. That we will getting a value from a get file attributes. So in the same way, set file attributes, what it is doing, I can set. I want my image either into a BMP or JPEG or whatever the texts, whatever the available things I can use. So that's what we can do with respect to a system call as a set file attributes. Then we have something called as a device management. So request device, release device. So request a device. So what we do for requesting a device, suppose you think that I want a pen drive, I want this laptop, so anything, then we use a request a device. Then we have one more thing called as a release a device. So if I am done with my work, you just leave that so that other person can use it. So then we are using a system call called as a release the device. So the same way, device management has some more system calls. One is a read, write, and reposition. Same way, read. So already there is some file I want to read. I want to just read the contents of the file. Then we are using a built-in function called as a read. Then I have done with the, I want to edit something. Now I have opened a PPT, then I want to edit. Then we are using a write. So then we are using a positioning from a memory to from one place to another place. Or I have opened here, I want to be some other thing. Then we use something called as a position, reposition. Then get file attributes, set file attributes, get a value from the file and after getting a value, you can set a value. Then get a device attribute, set a device attributes. Then logically attach or detach the device. So I can insert a pen drive. I can use a internet local area network cable to connect to my laptop so that I can use locally so that the speed will be high. That's what we assume it. So in that case, we use a LAN. Then we have a keyboard or a monitor or a laptop where we just use it. So that's what is a logical attach or detach the device. So information maintenance, get time or date, set time or date. So get the time. So sometimes I want what time we have created a file, what was a day. That things we can get it from a get a time or a date. The same way I can set. I can change the time and I can change the date. Same way now what we are doing, we are creating online class. So if I want to create an online class, what we are doing, we are assigning the tables. We are assigning the date, time. So that's what a set time or a date. Get system date. So how the data is present. Get system date. That's what we do. Set system date, system data. So I can take values what are there. I can take my name. I can take my bank details. All these are the data, personal data. So then how to access, how to know the system data. What is the configuration of the system? So whether it is a Intel core and what is a version, whether it is i3, i5, i7. So that's what we can do with respect to a get system date. Along with that, when we initially start, we can say that set system date. So I can say what is the laptop, what I have purchased, what is the hard disk size, what is a processor, what is a i3, what is a core i3. All these we are using. So in the same way, set process, file or a device attributes. So that's what we use with respect to a information maintenance. Then a communication, create, delete a communication connection. So how do we create? How do we delete the connection? So now you can see now the online connection is available because I'm using a Google Meet and there is a connection between me and the people who are logged in into the online class. So then this is what the connection. How long this connection will be there? This connection will be there for 1 hour. As soon as my class is over, I will disconnect. So that's what here, delete a communication connection. Once I close this Google Meet, we are stopping the recording as well as the internet connection will be not there. So that's what same way here with respect to operating system or network connections, we can create a connection or we can delete the communication connections whenever it is required. Send receive messages. So I can send a message, I can receive a message. Then transfer status information. What is the status? Whether I have started, whether I am closing, whether I am doing what. So that's what is a transfer status information. Attach or detach remote devices. So I can attach the device, I can detach the device. Now I am attaching a pen drive and within a pen drive I have all my PPTs. So I have to use it. That's what I am attaching the device. So in the same way I can detach. After my class I don't want this pen drive, so I'll remove this pen drive. So that's what is a communication takes place. These are the system calls available with respect to our operating system. So what in this also what we have seen, what are the categories, the system calls, what are the category of the system calls are. So we have just seen a process control was one category, file management was another category, device management is another one, then information maintenance is another one, then the communication. And we have seen what are the respective system calls for all the category. Process control has some built-in or a system calls where it will do its job. So in the same way, file management will be having a file system calls for a file. So in the same way, device management, so laptop, pen drive, all these are a device management. That's what is a system calls. Then information maintenance. So what are the system calls which we have? Then communication. So what are all these? Communication. That's what is a communication required. So Unix running multiple programs. What are these Unix running multiple programs. Process D, free memory. Process C, interpreter. Process B, kernel. So that's what is a Unix running multiple programs. So kernel. So what is our process? We have naming the processors, process B, and what is it is, whether it is interpreter, compiler, whatever it is. Then process C, how much memory is free. Then the process D, what it is doing. So this is what a multiple programs running at the same time. So that's the reason it is called as a Unix running multiple programs. Then what we have with respect to a communication model, we have a communication model where we communicate between a different processors. And how do we communicate with the kernel? Kernel is a base. So communication may takes place using either a messaging or a shared memory. So how do we communicate? So now we are communicating using a Google Meet. Not only one online application, we have so many other. So before this Google Meet, we were using a Zoom. So we have a WebEx. We have a there are so many Teamweaver, Team Access. We have a Skype. So like this, there are so many online applications available for us to communicate or engage the class. Same way with respect to communication, with respect to operating system, how the processor are communicating. So now the communication may takes place between the processors, because we told it is a multi processors, means there will be so many processors, maybe 5, maybe 3, maybe 1, maybe 2. So then we want to communicate the processors one to another. So how do we communicate them? Then we may use a kernel. One option of communicating between the processor is using a kernel. So let us assume that process A and process B are two processors, and we have a kernel. Now these two processors want to communicate between both. Process A wants to communicate between B, process B wants to communicate between A. Then how these communications will take place? Now process A will send the information for a kernel saying that I want to communicate with the B. Then what this kernel will do? It will connect to a process B so that the communication will be going on. So you can see in this diagram, the communication in the first diagram just shows that a communication when process A communicate with the kernel, kernel will communicate with process B. That's what 192. So next is process A, shared memory, process B and a kernel. So process A, communicate with the shared memory. Shared memory means what? One particular memory is being shared, and that can be used as a communication between a process A and process B. So you can see in this diagram how the communication model takes place. In the first one, we are using a kernel. In the second one, we are using a shared memory to communicate between these people. The processor. Same way. So how generally the human being are communicating between each other. So many days we were using the phones to communicate from one to one. But you can see now it is been added feature where you can add one more person to have a conference. So this was not there maybe 30 years down the line. There was no option. You can just have a communication between one to one. So whereas now you can have a video conferencing, you can call so many people at a time and you can communicate. So that's how the communication models are increasing day by day, and the features of each one is being changed. So this is a communication model. Now you can see all these years, so many years we have taught the classes, but all the classes was physical, and all students used to come to college, and we have to take a class on the physically, and we were able to see what the student is doing, whether he is listening. We were having the eye to eye contact. That was the physical model what was running in the academic thing. But right now, because of coronavirus, what happened? We cannot stop, because it is not the end of the life. We have to continue. We have to proceed. So then, what we have to do? We have done with the online classes. But still, what is going on with respect to advantages and disadvantages of online communication? Though we call all 60 students, but how many of you are turning up? Very few are turning up. So then we don't have eye to eye contact here, because network, it's network problem. You people are saying we don't have network, so you have to recharge your network every time. So that's a problem with the communication model based on the technologies. Same way here, day by day, the communication models are getting changed. So this online, so how far this online classes are affected? The online classes are compare if we start comparing the physical model with the online model. So you cannot replace a physical model with respect to online classes. So this is what we have just done in this class. We'll just have a revision what we have done. We'll just see what we have done today. So we have started with distributed operating system. So what is distributed operating system? Is where the information is being placed in 2 or 3 systems, and how the system, what are the advantages? You can share the resources. You can computational speed can be increased because the work is distributed, and reliable, how far we can rely, and you can communication. So that's what with respect to just ordinary distributed system. So the same way we may have a network operating system distributed also. So where what it will provide a file sharing. So now I am sending you a operating system files one to many. I'll just have one to one also, but I'll just create one time my email, but I'll attach all your mail IDs. So that's what sharing of the files. So then provide communication scheme. So how we are able to communicate. So now you people are sending us operating system assignments through the online, and we are giving you questions through the online. This is one way of communicating. So even it provides a communication scheme. So runs independently from one computers on the network. Then distributed operating system, less autonomy between computers, gives the impression there is a single operating system controlling the network. So that's what a distributed system is. Then we come to a clustered system. Clustering allows 2 or more systems to share storage. So it provides high reliability. Then asymmetric clustering and a symmetric clustering. Handheld system, personal digital assistance, cellular phone. Then issues. What are the issues with respect to handheld system? Limited memory, slow memory, small display screens. Then computing environment, traditional computing, web-based computing, and embedded computing. So traditional computing, all these years how the calculations were going on. So it was in a one standalone system where you were doing all the calculations, everything with only with respect to one system to another system. There was no cables, there were no LAN, WAN, MAN. But as the technology improved and they started using the web-based, so internet has come into existence, and then web-based communication or calculations also have come into existence. So that's what is called as a web-based. Then we have something called as a embedded computing. So now your cellular phones, what we are doing, we have a cellular phones, we have so many apps, and we can do it. But if we compare with the traditional old banking system, we have to, if I want to withdraw or deposit the amount, we have to go to the bank. But right now it is not required because of this digital media. You can just transfer the amount from one bank to another bank, or one person to another person using a phone. So that's what an example of a embedded system or embedded computing. And we have seen about the operating system structure. We have seen about the common system components. We have seen about what is a process management, and we have seen what is a main memory management, and what is file management, what are the input output system managements we have just seen. And we started with the secondary storage management, then network distribution, protection system, then what are the command interpreter system, then what are the operating system services, then additional what operating system functions are, and a system calls. And we have seen what is in Unix and what is in DOS, and what are the different system calls we have. So we have seen all categories, what are the system calls available with each category. Then we have seen how to run a multiple programs with respect to Unix, and we have seen about a communication model. So I'll stop here and continue in the next class.